Hey, hold on to your seats. It's still like flying United. Welcome to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for joining us, and you will be so glad you did. We have a great guest, as always, so remain seated. What's been going on? Not long ago, I had to go to the doctor, and I'm sitting in the small room, anxiously awaiting. Doctor comes in. He says, I'm going to need you to bend over and grab your ankles. This is going to be really uncomfortable. Then he handed me the bill. Did you hear this story not long ago? These Ford Fusions that were manufactured in Mexico were shipped northeast Ohio, among other places. They were stuffed with millions of dollars of marijuana. And they found it, hidden in wheel wells. Now, Greg, you know about cars. If they were thinking here, wouldn't they have gone for the universal joint? Did the car still have that? I don't know, maybe not. Speaking of millions, about the big fight between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Mayweather won, and of course that was expected. He's 50-0, he says he's done. But no one really lost. McGregor earned $100 million, Mayweather over $200 million. And I'm thinking again, the only other place you see two grown men fighting over that big and expensive purse is backstage at the Tony Awards. I mean, and of course, we recently had the running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain. I'm still intrigued by that. I really don't know why, but at one time I thought, maybe I'd like to go over there and try that, but kind of costly. I don't know, if I'm going to run down an old dark street, being chased from behind, at any moment be trampled and stabbed in the back, I could just go to Phelps Street downtown. Cost effective. Hey, no bull. We have a great guest, Rick Shepas. He joins us next right here on Loose Change. You better hang tight, or else we'll send Floyd at you.
Let's talk business. What does yours need for communication? Whether you're a small business or a large one, Armstrong Business Solutions has the tools. From internet and telephone to high-speed fiber optic networking. Connecting multiple locations? No sweat. Conducting business on the go? We've got unified voice. As a telecommunications leader, we know what it takes to deliver the performance, reliability, and security required for business-critical IT and connectivity. Are you getting all that for what you're paying? Armstrong Business Solutions. Your business is our business.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans. I have the great pleasure to be joined by a familiar guy. He is now the Deputy Chief of Physical Development and Athletics of the Youngstown City Schools, none other than Coach Rick Shepas. Coach, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be here, Jim. Thank you.
For those who follow sports in the area, and even a lot of who don't, they know of you and your story. But what we like to do, just in case, for those who don't know, we like to have our victims or our guests give just a little snapshot of your resume, where you're from, where you grew up, what school, and how your career path took shape.
Yeah, I grew up in Struthers and Nebo. For those people that are fond of that area, a lot of great players grew up in Nebo, and I had the good fortune of having some great coaches growing up in a neighborhood where there were a lot of boys running around, and they were great rec programs in the city. We had our neighborhood teams, neighborhood baseball teams, and I had great coaching at that level. A bunch of guys who were enthusiastic about sports, and I was a product of Catholic schools. My mom and dad wanted me in Catholic school, so I attended St. Nicholas and a grade school in Struthers there, and went on to follow my brother and sister, who were 1969 and 1970 graduates, respectively, of Cardinal Mooney High School. Okay. And obviously followed them there, and had the great opportunity to be coached, by guys like Don Butchie, Ron Stoops, very close with Coach Stoops, but Jimmy Cola, Dan Kakura, Tony Kangemi has always been a good luck charm for me, and even Ted Bell was on our coaching staff.
Oh wow!
Back there at that time. I believe Mike Loden's still coaching fundamentals over there. That I was able to learn from, and Pooh was a great freshman coach for us. So I was blessed by growing up in a great program, where we were taught all the right things. We were taught, how to work, how to do things. Right. Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with everybody's success. Obviously mine. pales in comparison to some, but you know, believe me, great influence on every experience I've ever had since.
Absolutely.
You know, went on to Youngstown State, was recruited by Bill Narduzzi, very grateful that he put me on scholarship there, and you know, had some great years there, and Bill was a great players coach, and fundamentally, defensively, was outstanding.
Good guy.
He's a fantastic guy, and well missed. And then got a chance to finish under Jim Tressel, you know, who we knew as he was getting going was definitely going to be great in the future. You could just see it in him, and you could see the work ethic in him and what he brought to the table. And then obviously history speaks for itself there. But you know, that was my training ground. And then you know, a couple NFL training camps to arena football in Pittsburgh. You know, before I started what I thought was going to be a long-term business career that ended up 2 years later, you know, found myself back in education. Started out at Poland High School in girls basketball as the head coach and coaching football there. Ended up the head coach at Poland. We had great players there on both sides, you know, men's and women's athletics. Had great success there, you know, school's first playoff experience, first state trip to the state semifinals. Just a tremendous experience with those kids, and then on to Seneca Valley in Pittsburgh. You know, great conference, Quad A North Conference at Seneca Valley. You know, in that great conference with Jack McCurry in North Hills. You know, George Novak, and these are some legendary names over in the Pittsburgh area. But then, fortunately for me, you know, after beating a good North Allegheny team, I find myself as the head coach at Massillon for 7 years, and obviously some great teams there. So definitely the benefactor of, you know, be a part of great coaching growing up, having great players in our system, and just pretty purposeful in the decisions I've made on the stops that I've made in coaching.
From Massillon, you went on to Waynesburg College. Or is it university now?
It's Waynesburg University now, like many. They're changing. And it was a great small college experience, you know, for me there. Again, you know, Youngstown would find its way back into the picture, I believe. You know, at one point, you know, for a period of time there, we had, you know, over 40 kids on our roster from the Youngstown and surrounding areas, the Tri-County areas. And, you know, we built our program, you know, on the backs of these kids from Youngstown, the great coaching they received while they were here. And again, you know, we were able to have success there. And I thought that a 12-year stay there, you know, was great for me. And, you know, time to move on. And you know, this opportunity, you know, started to take fold in the spring and became full in July here.
We'll get to that for sure. Just to dial back, and as a player, wide receiver, if you went back again, would you play another position, or would that be it?
No, I would play the exact same position. You know, in today's game, I'd probably be an inside slot receiver or a, you know, stand-up Y, and you know, if I played in the same offensive system that I coach in, you know, I might have caught 1,000 passes.
I know you would have.
You never know. You never know. But you know, you know, I'm a big fan of the multiple pro set and using formations and using personnel. So, you know, we were still incorporating the use of a fullback. You know, we love to use one tight end, but we love to use multiple tight ends, multiple, you know, personnel groupings. And in that, you know, we incorporated all the things that you see today. You know, we had tempos to our offense. I mean, we could no huddle you, but then we would huddle you and short huddle you, and, you know, 4-minute tempos and all those things. But, you know, we made sure we spread the ball around. We wanted to be hard to defend, and we wanted to use our players in order to do that.
Well, you mentioned a lot of great names and great coaches there, and obviously, no doubt you took a little bit or maybe a lot from each one and kind of incorporated it into your coaching, I would assume. What was your coaching philosophy?
You know, keep the players first. You know, be smart about how we're developing them. Keep them in a performance zone, so to speak. You know, make sure we were raising them, you know, to be, you know, we're using the game of football to raise young men. You know, so on and off the field. So that encompasses a lot of things, obviously. But you know, everything that we did with our players, or that I did or would continue to do with our athletes, is to develop them, plant seeds, you know, if you will. You know, if you get that productivity quickly, then it's fantastic. But but in education, we're always planting seeds to make kids better, you know, and it's always purposeful, even if it takes, 4 or 5 years, to develop. And that's one of the things that I learned along the way is just stay the course, but keep the players first and how we're treating them, how we're handling their bodies. Make sure we're training them appropriately with the right amount. Rest and recovery is a big part of today's game.
Sure.
To make sure they stay healthy, and there's so many things factor into the way sports are played nowadays. But you obviously want them to be in an environment where it's fun to be a part of, and where they're fresh. So, we wanted to do those things as well.
I think you would fall into that category of obviously you're coaching, but it's teaching as much as coaching, and they're intertwined now, obviously. But I think that applies to you.
What I learned in my background is it's about the processes. We were, from the time I was in Little League, we were very fundamental. We practiced in between games. We just didn't practice in the preseason and then play games like you see a lot of Little League teams play now. I mean, we practiced every day we didn't have a game. We were practicing. We were practicing the fundamentals. Yep. We were practicing situations. At Cardinal Mooney, we practiced situations until the situation we felt was executed perfectly.
Right.
So that obviously took a long time, but that's the lineage that I come from, and in some cases, we were trained so well, that sometimes even the best of what, some of your teams are giving you isn't quite what we're used to, as a player from Mooney. We're just the expectation is just so high.
Yeah.
So sometimes it doesn't look like we're happy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because we're striving for those extra goals. But that's what was expected of us, so that's just what we did.
You mentioned Poland and obviously the great things you did there. Then you go to PA, and there's always that argument, oh, well, what's a better, Ohio or Pennsylvania? Yeah. What did you see any difference at all? Is there pretty much football is football, kids are kids?
The difference. I mean, there's great, obviously, if you put a compass on the state line in Newcastle, and you drew a 75-mile radius on the state line, right as, we border Newcastle there in Pennsylvania, I mean, you'd find some of the greatest ever coaches and players in every sport, football, basketball, baseball, track, you name it, ever, in that 75-mile radius. I mean, it's unbelievable if you'd really take a hard look at that. When I evaluate the difference between the two, I mean, obviously there are things that separate the two. I think speed is very important in Northeastern Ohio. And speed is something that makes the game different in Northeastern Ohio. The other thing I think makes the game different in Northeastern Ohio and Ohio in general is the way coaches focus on what their responsibilities are with their teams.
Okay.
So I think coaches are more serious. I think school districts are more serious about how kids are preparing for athletics over here than necessarily over there. Not that it's recreational over there,
right?
But if you would even compare the off seasons to a sport that I love so much, like football, the biggest sport opposite of football in Western PA is wrestling, and not that wrestling isn't important here in certain pockets of Northeastern Ohio, but I think track and field. I think track and field is the next thing you look to, and you look to those big track meets, and the regional track meets over in Northeastern Ohio, which usually always set the tone for the state track meet. So I think speed is the factor. You can win the state championship with great teams that would compare to a Poland, a Canfield, a Boardman in each respective division in the state of Pennsylvania. However, if you weren't at specific teams in the state of Ohio, you didn't have quite the same chance to win. Because speed was a factor. I mean, size was a factor.
Sure.
The traditional approach to the game. So football's good everywhere. I have a chance. I've coached on both sides of the coin at the high school level, so I'm partial. To Ohio, the physical contact in Ohio. The style of football in Ohio is a little bit more direct.
Okay.
We're coming at you. We're getting north. We're running the football. Mm-hmm. I thought that there was a little bit more finesse involved.
Okay.
In the Pittsburgh area, and that's why we were successful. We took our approach here, took it over to Seneca Valley. We were direct. Mm-hmm. We were able to have success. Multiple pro set, but. And then when I took the same offense, we made a lot of adjustments when I went over to Massillon. You have to study the cultures of the programs that you're in, and every circumstance is different. Poland had a likeness unto itself. Seneca Valley, much different in other ways, but unto itself, a different climate and different culture. Massillon, another 180 degrees from those two types of situations. And then obviously the transition to coaching older kids, and what you would permit versus what you wouldn't. I think you have to have a style for that, and you have to understand that even though they're 18 and 19 years old, they still don't know what what they think they know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I kind of feel that way sometimes now. But
that's the bottom line. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody watching this show will probably look at me cross-eyed when I say that, but they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And then when they're 25, they'll start to go back to they'll think about what you said. So I come back to that seed planter approach with them. So I mean, you stay the course, you do your thing. You got to be yourself, because if you're not who you are, any kid from kindergarten through 12th grade will sniff you out. You got to be the real McCoy. Yeah. So, fortunately, I am who I am, unfortunately. So, good or bad.
Well,
or indifferent.
I think it's pretty good. We're glad you're here. We're gonna take a break. It's halftime. More with Rick Shepas here on Loose Change right after this.
Still trying to decide between EXP and satellite? Let's take a look at the facts. Only EXP from Armstrong offers award-winning local customer support and free service calls with no contracts and no early termination fees. EXP also includes Zoom Internet, the area's fastest, plus an intuitive user interface powered by TiVo for the ultimate TV experience. As you can see, when it comes to EXP versus satellite, there's just no comparison. EXP from Armstrong, this changes everything.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Evans along with Rick Shepas. And before we get into what you're doing now with the Youngstown City Schools, and I'm really excited, and I know people are, just quickly, we talk about high school football, and there's this thing, not that we don't have passionate fans and administrations all over the state and certainly here, but Massillon's a little bit different, seemingly, anyway, on the surface. Was that the case in terms of the way the town responded to what was going on, or no?
Yeah, I mean, Massillon is just on a different type of daily pedestal, good, bad, or otherwise, than other sports teams during the course of a given year. Massillon Tiger football is important from the time they put that football in the crib of a newborn boy, and it's treated like that. And because Paul Brown is the founding father of Massillon Tiger football, the founding father of the Booster Club, the founding father of the halftime show and the marching band, that's the expectation. So the reporting, on the football program on a regular basis, daily basis, in season or out of season, is just different in Massillon. I think it creates a different focus, and I've never shied away from any of those things because. It makes you better. You raise the bar.
Absolutely.
Better for the bar to be raised as high as it could possibly be, and better to be in that type of environment. To be honest, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. All the great days and even the bad days included. They all make up the experience that it is, and it's a great stadium to play in. I actually was raised in the idea of Massillon Tiger football because of our days at Mooney when we would scrimmage, and the respect that I know that Don Butchie had for Mike Currents and his program there. When I was a head coach there, Mike and I got to be very close, and Mike was very instrumental in one of the main instrumental guys in having influence over some big changes I made in my coaching career. Jeff Davis was one of our boosters. It was on the interview committee, and he hooked me up with Mike, and I spent many a lunch with Mike in the off season that first year, and we kind of changed some philosophies with philosophies that Mike felt he had an insight on the community. I thought in evaluating his philosophy, I thought he was exactly correct with the kind of kids that we had in Massillon. Wiry, smaller types of kids, and we adapted. Obviously you either choose to get better and make some changes, and I felt that I needed to make some changes. So we shortened up the practices, believe it or not. We changed the philosophy of how we were doing those things back in '98. Even our strength and conditioning, was very intense, to the point, but done. we really increased our efficiency with those things, and we were really ahead of the game from a strength and conditioning standpoint, thanks to Mike Barwas, who was, training the guys down at West Virginia. I'd watched Don Nealon's bigger, Big Ten type of looking teams. And I thought when Mike came in there with Rich Rod and they changed to the tempo offense, I was really impressed with the way their kids were trained. So, we had the resources to bring them up and train our whole athletic department. Dave Pavlansky used to be the track coach around here, and Dave and I would talk about speed development all the time, because that's what matters in the game of football. So, we brought Olympic sprint coaches in, to train our athletic department at Massillon. So, one of the great things about Massillon is resources. And we had the resources to do those things. We did, and then we had great players in the program too. We had record-breaking players.
Well, now you have this new great opportunity, new challenge for you, which I'm sure you're going to do great in. And what's your vision for how physical education, athletics, and just the whole thing will take place at this point for you?
Well, it'd be no different than it would be any place else. I mean, we want the best for all of our kids in the Youngstown City Schools. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So, so what does that mean? From an academic standpoint, I'm sure Krish wants the very best academic opportunities for the kids, the best opportunities in technology, the very best teaching, the very best commitment that we could have from our teaching staff and leadership and our administrative team. We recognize that there needs to be a culture change in where we want to be at, both academically and athletically. And we're raising that bar. I'm around convocation here, getting ready for the new year, and I hear from a lot of people that there's a new energy and it just feels different. I think that's a reflection of the work that the administrative team has put in over the course of the summer. And when I literally say, 12, 16 hours a day, I mean it. I mean, 12, 16 hours a day, I've been working side by side these folks, and they are at it in every aspect of every educational opportunity that we could provide. We're restructuring the school district to K-8s. We have the Rayan Early College. God bless, early identification of early college candidates. And then we'll have Cheney as opening up back up as a high school, along with East. And then we have the early college that sits in between at Youngstown State University. So we have some great opportunities. We just want to continue to improve. And I think we have new principals in the buildings that are going to be changing the culture. And then part of our athletic team that'll be hired in both buildings, will be there to affect the culture change in each building. And we will assist, Mr. Kleiner in his change in culture at Cheney High School. And we will assist Ms. Gordon in how she changes the culture at East High School. And then, what we're looking to do is we want to earn the respect back, from the community, that Youngstown City Schools are a great educational option for their kids, first and foremost because of the Rayan Early College opportunity.
Absolutely, that's
fantastic. And then the early college situation. And then from an athletic standpoint, I mean, you've seen some of the things that we've done is we've put some people in place, that are role models, that are involved in the community, in the churches. They're raising children, and those are the type of kids the type of men and women that we want, our kids around. So, some of those, folks that I'm speaking to are people like, Brian Merrill, as the head coach at East, Chris Emile, great situation to be in, to be able to have him in our equation. Kevin Kyler is back in our equation, and Tanisha Franklin at East High School. So, I mean, I think we have the best opportunity to assist the instructional leaders in the classroom to do their job and be able to focus on their job, and let us do some life coaching. Let us do some individual male and female student and player development with these kids. Pull them aside, do some early intervention when we need to, do a little bit more focus on their academic course of study. And I was talking with Rick Gursky, one of our principals, on the way over here in the car, and we were talking about making sure that we have everybody looking into the course schedules of each individual student, so we make sure they're taking the right number of credits, so they're either A, working towards graduation, or in the case of a male or female athlete, they're working towards those clearinghouse opportunities. So you know, we have some interesting, you know, circumstances taking place. It's a unique opportunity, one that, you know, that is a tremendous opportunity, I think, and one to be respected. And we just want to make sure we put the right people in those positions. So far over at Cheney, we've got Tyra Grant over there.
Yeah, man.
And Anthony Floyd. I mean,
Heard about
you
that.
know,
And
so
I know you were talking about, you know, getting some other women involved for the.
yeah,
for
you know, Brenda Scott is working with
programs.
United Way. Yeah, Bob Hanna was in today in one of the meetings that I sat in on today, and you know, the United Way through 21st Century Grant is functioning in our schools in the after-school program. It's fantastic. We will model and coordinate with. Then you have the Boys and Girls Club working at the 7th and 8th grade levels in a couple of schools. So we will, you know, work with and coordinate and follow their structure, you know, with an athletic component. And I think our, you know, our phys ed department has a great opportunity to be a bigger player in the equation as well in their transition from phys ed during the day and what we're teaching the kids that follow the Ohio Department of Education standards. But then at the same time, how we're bridging off of that and we're building our young student athletes, because we're going to treat each and every one of them as though they're potentially going to be a student athlete at the high school and train them appropriately and treat them the right way. So there's a lot of moving parts of this thing. There's been a lot of cooperation with this thing as well. And I think the thing that makes it so exciting is, you know, whether they're good ideas or not, you know, ideas can only be accomplished with the effort of great people, you know. So the thing that I'm excited about, you know, are the people that have been available and that have taken up interest, that are really committed, and not just people that are looking for just a job.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those deals where,
Right.
you know, we're going to quote a movie or something, but you know, we're not looking for people who just want to go to work.
Yeah.
These are vocational positions. Obviously, all of, you know, teachers everywhere are in education because they love kids,
Right.
and that they're in a vocation of purpose, you know, and you know, that's what's taking place in the Youngstown City Schools, and you know, we're trying to affect change, you know, in a number of ways.
We only have 30 seconds. Great to hear, and I know a lot of people are excited. The Golden Bears are back at East,
Yeah.
and Cheney will begin varsity athletics. Is it next school year?
It'll begin in the near future here.
Football will be the year after. Is that the case? Or?
Well, tentatively speaking.
Okay.
You know, it's a work in progress, and it has moving parts as well.
Okay.
Let's early on here in the first month of the school year, we'll be doing some hard evaluations on how things are going with the structure of the school day. We're starting to take a hard look at numbers right now.
Yeah.
And then we're also
from there.
we're planning to integrate. We got that great, you know, we got all these great groups. You know, I mentioned Boys and Girls Club. JJC's another one. Maurice Claret with the Red Zone and the big bike giveaway. I mean, come on, there's enthusiasm.
That was great.
Let me tell you something. It is ridiculous. You know, and you know, Maurice and his group and his board I've had a chance to meet with. I mean, he's really committed to this area, and we've got a lot of people that are believing, and that's what it's going to take.
That's right. Well, hey, we could go on and on. Hopefully we'll have you on again, but it was great to see you and talk with you, and you know, everything you're doing is, I think, is really, there's a great road ahead for Youngstown City Schools.
Yeah, grateful.
Thanks,
grateful.
Rick.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Rick Shepas. We'll be back to wrap it up here on Loose Change right after this.
Armstrong's Healing Heroes aims to donate 5 dogs to area veterans suffering from PTSD, seizure disorders, and more, in conjunction with Guardian Angels medical service dogs. Here's how to help. Visit your local Armstrong office to make a donation, or go to www.medicalservicedogs.org and choose Armstrong as the designation. You can also mail donations to the address on your screen. For more information, visit us on Facebook. Together, we can unleash the power to heal.
That's going to do it for our show. Thanks so much to the great Rick Shepas and for Greg Roten. Also, a happy belated birthday to Kathy Wagner and also to Bob Morgan. We'll catch you next time right here on Loose Change. Check us out.